So in this video, we will do some extension about what we've learned in the previous video to create the frequency distribution to consider another different cases. And so in this case, we consider the GPA can be equal to 0, and at the same time, the class width is 0.5. And so what does this tell you? So before we work on the data set, let me do some modification about our data set. So our original data set is on the first column A, and now after I keep do some approximation, and I keep the 1 decimal places for our observation and place it on the column E. So you will see every GPA listed on column E only have 1 decimal places. And the reason I want to do this is because our class width. So in this case, the class width is 0.5. So what does this telling you is for each classes we only have 0.5 distance. So now let's first look at how did I define the classes. So for first class, I consider GPA can be equal to 0. So for first class, if you count the number, we have 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and 0.4. So the class we have the 0.4 included, and the second class is 0.4 to 0.9. So the 0.4 is not included. So 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. So the class width is 0.5 in these cases. And then now I list all the possible classes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And if you remember what we did in the previous example is, if we want to use Excel to help us to create our frequency distribution and histogram for a quantitative variable, we need to define the bin range. So the bin range is the upper limits for each class, and also that upper limit should be reached for each class. So in this case, our first class upper limit is 0.4, and the second class is 0.9, 1.4, 1.9, 2.4, 2.9, 3.4, 3.9. However, the last class, we don't have upper limit, so we just leave it there. So now we will go to use data analysis by clicking the data tab and find the data analysis, and then find the one option called histogram and click OK. Now we will choose the input range, which is our data set. So our data set is on the column E from E1 to E121 because we have 120 observations. And for the bin range, and we will select the new bin range, which is from D1 to H1 to H9, and click this little icon again. Again, both input range and the bin range include the first cell, which is the label. You need to make sure you check the label. And let's play the result in your new worksheet. Let's call it frequency and histogram 2. And don't forget to check the chart output and click OK. So now we create our second frequency and second histogram based on our new classes. And so again, if you look at this area, we have the frequency distribution. So the first class is from 0 to 0.4, so we have no student in that range. And the second class is 0.4, but smaller and equal to 0.9. We have 1 student in this range. So this is our frequency distribution. And so now let's look at histogram here. So obviously this is bar chart. So we want to first what we need to do is we need to select one of the rectangle and right double click your mouse, and you should see the format data point, and we have one like a bucket with a paint out, so we don't choose this one, not this one, the last one. So the last one is called the series option. And the gap width by default is 150%, and reduce the gap to 0%. So now this is our new histogram based on our new setup for the classes. So if you look at this class, this histogram compare with that one with this one. So obviously, for my personal preference, I like this classification because these have enough classes to help us to see the general trend for our data set. So obviously we have the tail towards the negative direction, so we call it a right skew distribution or left skew distribution, or we can also call it negatively skewed distribution. So this is the second example of frequency and histogram using for one quantitative variable. So if you have any question, you're welcome to contact me.